Okay, let's take a look at these things called tuples, or some people call them tuples. I actually don't know which is the right way, tuple, tuple. You can say it either way, I guess. So a tuple in Python is basically a list, but it cannot be changed. So a little while ago, we saw a list is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and we could print the list, and then we could do lst.append, and we could put 5 in there, and then we could print that list, and we see that we added something, just like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But a tuple does not work that way. A tuple cannot be modified. Now this is really good for performance increases, but it's also really, really good just for keeping your data the same. Some things just don't need to change. So for instance, let's say I have a tuple and you open it and close it with a regular set of parentheses here. And let's do Caleb, Henry, and Zephyr. And this is not going to be called tup. This is going to be called a group. So it's me and my 2 cats. Now, on some instances of Python, I have noticed that Python will get this confused for a function. I don't know why that happens, but if that does ever happen to you, you can just throw a comma at the end here, and that comma with the closing parentheses, Python goes, oh, I know that's not a function. There's nothing there. That's got to be a tuple. So we have this group, and in this group, let's say we wanted to add a new person to this group. Well, let's hit dot and then tab, and we see that we don't have append in there. We have count and index, but we don't have append. So let's go ahead and try this anyways. Append a new pet called Axel, I guess. Attribute error. Tuple object has no attribute append. It simply does not exist. We cannot do anything with that. It does have count, which is pretty cool. So I could count the number of times Caleb shows up once. It also show the number of times Henry shows up, which is also once. And we can actually change this as well. So let's put Henry in here just to show the count example. We've got Henry in here twice. I just reran those cells. And so it's Caleb, Henry, Zephyr, Henry now. Group append still doesn't work. Down here, group count Henry now shows up as 2. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is with lists and tuples, they do not have to be unique items. We'll talk about sets a little bit later where every item is going to be unique, but that's not the case here. So effectively, we are stuck with Caleb, Henry, Zephyr, Henry. And let's say we wanted to get rid of Henry. How do we get rid of this? Well, with a list, we simply did the list name or the variable name, remove, and let's do Henry. Oh, that doesn't work. Let's do another example here where instead of running remove, we run pop. Oh, we can't even get rid of that. So what do? The only other option we have here is we can create a new tuple. So let's call this new group, and we are going to say group, and we're going to slice this. We're going to start at number 0. This is an index. So 0, 1, 2. And we want to go up to number 3, but not include number 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3, not including 3. And let's do this. New group. And we have removed it, but we've also created a new variable. So now we have 2 variables with basically the same data in it, and we're no longer being very efficient. Now, as an example of how a tuple is a sequence, we can use a for loop. So for item in new group, because we don't want the old group anymore, print item. Now that item is going to be Caleb, Henry, and Zephyr in that order. And a tuple will always maintain that order. Other data types do not necessarily do that. Lists do, strings do, and tuples do. They will maintain their order. Sets do not, and dictionaries are not always guaranteed to maintain their order depending on the version of Python you're using. But when it comes to a data type like a tuple, once it is set in stone, and the only way to get rid of it is to delete it. So we could do del group, and if we do group, we're going to see an error. Group is not defined anymore because we deleted it. So that is a tuple. A tuple is a lot like a list, but it cannot be changed. It is completely immutable. It's that word here. I did not mean for that to execute, but it is completely immutable, which means once you set your data in here, you set those items, they are set in stone. There are ways around that by creating a new variable and deleting the old one, but at that point, you're still not being very efficient at all, and it sort of defeats the purpose of using a tuple. If you need to actually modify your tuple at all, you're probably better off using a list. But in Python, tuples have their place, and it is good to know how they look and how they act. And the fact that you can't really do too much with a tuple is actually pretty nice sometimes. Sometimes you want that data integrity. Go ahead and give this a shot. Create a tuple. Where do we have a tuple? Tuple. Group is equal to Caleb, Henry, Zephyr, Henry. Create your own tuple and then just print that out. And then what I would like you to do is try to run .append as well as .remove. And you should see an attribute error for both of those. If you see those errors, you're doing the right things. That's okay. Errors are okay to have. And once you see those attribute errors, let's head on over to that next lesson where we learn about sets, I believe is the next one, where it's a lot like a list and a tuple, but it's totally unique and doesn't always maintain its order. So have fun with this, and let's head on over to that next lesson whenever you're ready.